We've reached the final quarter of the Paddock the Goals, our first vodcast for the Buloke Shire Council, and let's hope the breeze is at our backs and we can finish over the top of the opposition. I'd like to introduce Buloke Shire Council's Senior Manager Flood Recovery, Dan McLoughlan.
How you going, Trav?
And Director of Wimmera Mallee Accountant, Dale Poyner.
Hey, Trav.
Thanks both for joining. Look, we might commence with you, Dale. Any footy or hockey credentials to
Not a lot to speak of, mate. I have played junior footy for both sides out here today, and having a business in Birchman, residing in Nullarbor.
You're well placed.
I think I'll just stay right on the fence with that one. We'll see who's up with a couple of minutes to go.
You got to understand, you're looking at the under-17 grand final, full forward and fat pocket here.
Yes. It's amazing the forward line was big enough to hold us both. It does.
Dan, you've got some real bear in the square attributes going on today as well, so I can see we're in for a good last quarter here on the Paddock, the Goals. Dale, let's commence with you. Can you give us a bit of an overview of some of the issues that this flood event's caused in Buloke, and considering we've only really just emerged from COVID-19 and where are we at now?
I think it's in line with some of the seasons as well. You know, we're coming in where we were coming, back in October when the event sort of occurred. Farmers had spent up, and not just farmers, businesses, like the costs, especially in farming, the inputs were so high. So we're coming into a large prospective crop, and then the risk and the concern with people was that what are we going to get? The events of water and where it was going, and was it ever going to stop?
Yeah.
We've come out the other side, and history tells us that a lot of the water we've been able to bypass and get through, and a lot of farmers have actually still had good years. But during that event, there was some concerns around for people. It was more about what do we do, what we can do, and then when the grants were initiated, we sent it straight out to clients, and initially it was only $10,000, but obviously that's been recently changed. Well, it was changed up to 75, so it's just making people aware of that to ensure that they're claiming.
And there's some good news around as well. Buloke Shire Council, along with a lot of other LGAs and Emergency Management Victoria, have been advocating strongly for those flood grants to be extended, which they finally have happened. So for information about farm support, jump on the AgVic website, look for the flood link there and make your way through those. There's a list of other grants and support networks available at Buloke Shire Council as well. So please hop on our website and have a look, where we've done a really great job, our engagement team, of pulling those grant opportunities together. The following grants have been extended until the 13th of July of this year, these being the Primary Producer Flood Recovery Grant, the Rural Landholder Grant, Flood Recovery Transport Support Program, Primary Producer Flood Recovery Concessional Loan, and the Rural Financial Counselling Service is available to assist primary producers to understand and apply for flood and storm support. So primary producers can contact their local RFCS on 1300 771 741, and more information is available on the Rural Finance website as well, or give them a call on 1800 260 425. Dale, what can you tell our listeners about how they can reach out for support and or what they can do to assist the rest of their community as well?
I think the biggest thing is that I can say to them is don't self-assess. Put an application in. So go speak to someone, whether it's your accountant, whether it's you're a business advisor or something like that. Make sure you put an application in, because a lot of people we found with our clients, we forward out the information, and people have said, "Oh no, I'm not eligible." But it's not. You don't have to be lying on a floodway or lying on an actual waterway to claim this grant. So this grant, people have been out in the middle of nowhere on the plains and they've had water issues, So things like fencing, tracks, road access to tracks, if you've had to incur costs, to build levee banks, things like that, they're all part of the grant, okay? We've got clients that are out there only finding issues now where they've had bogged headers or bogged trucks or bog marks in the paddocks, and they've had to fill in these or buy renovators or buy equipment to assist with filling in these things. That's all eligible. Sheep, we had a lot of clients lose sheep through water and damage, obviously because of nutrients in the water, drenches, all those costs that you've incurred are actually eligible under the grant. So I think the biggest advice I would give is don't self-assess, and there are groups out there that can assist, such as the Rural Financial Counselling Service, and the Shire will have a list of these people. If you haven't heard from your accountant or your business advisor, let them know. Speak to someone at the Shire.
Yep, jump on the website, www.buloke.vic.gov.au, and you'll find all those links really easily accessible from the front page of the website. Dan, some comments from you, really. Look, can you give us a bit of an overview about Council's progress in responding to the flood so far?
Yeah, well, it's probably important to remember council have sort of started the response phase back on October 13. So we've been at it for a fair while. Initially, that was really counter-disaster operations, looking after our most vulnerable, particularly our towns, but also farmhouses. We worked with all the lead agencies in that emergency management sphere, I guess. So through an incident control centre, we were directed to do everything from sandbagging to picking up sandbags once the water had gone through.
Yep.
Levee building, all that sort of stuff was in the early days. And then we went into really the response mode. And that was as the water got around the towns, and we were really lucky to have a lot of local knowledge assist us in that, particularly in Charlton.
Extraordinary.
And had an incredible result there where, under direction from the locals, really, we were able to take a large amount of water around the township of Charlton, and the Bureau would note that somewhere between 80 to 120 houses were saved from that. So we work closely with community and all those lead agencies. VicPol were incredible, SES, Emergency Management Victoria, Emergency Recovery Victoria, and then we quickly had to go into that response mode because we had an impending harvest.
So talk to us a bit about your approach in getting that community knowledge during the event, and then when you went back to the community around harvest to identify those strategic roads of importance, so harvest could come off in the best way possible given the state of the roads.
Yeah, so particularly with the townships under threat in that immediate stage, we held community meetings, and through those really we had community members approach us. Also helps to go to the local watering hole. Travis,
Yes,
you can run into
that's where the truth is.
Run into a few of our primary producers there. And then, so we had community meetings as that water essentially started in the southern end of our shire, whether it was the Avoca turned into the Tyrrell or whether it was some of the water around Birchip and indeed south of Birchip ending up heading towards Sea Lake and being stuck in that area around Mailbed. There was plenty of meetings with landowners.
Yeah.
With different towns, and then when we went into that really response to harvest mode, we knew we had a huge amount of damage out there, over 5,000 defects, and we're still counting. That's just for emergency works. That's not to rebuild. Yeah. And we had to work with particularly our farmers to make sure, and we tried to be as reactive as we could. To the point you were taking phone calls at 11 o'clock at night to say, I want to get into the canola by tomorrow, Arvo. And we were shifting equipment, our equipment and contractors. I should really note that we've been blessed to have really good local contractors and preferred suppliers that have helped us. At some stages, we've had 6 of our grader crews, 5 contractor grader crews, and then 4 patrol crews between us out there. So we were really lucky, and I think more fortunate than some of the other rural and remote councils that we were able to get that team together.
Now, there's some key challenges there. Another one that's thrown around, and council last Wednesday night adopted their updated advocacy strategy, which includes what they're advocating for out of the October 2022 flood event. One item of which is betterment, something that is not included currently in the DRF funding guidelines. Tell us a bit about betterment and what that means.
What it really means for Buloke is, and we welcome all funding, and we've been very fortunate to receive funding at a federal level through the National Disaster Fund for the emergency works. However, when we go to rebuild those roads, we need to rebuild them to a standard that aligns with our road management plan. So you have to remember, a lot of our seal network in particular, they were built for 7-tonne Bedfords. Yep. And we've now got B-doubles and road trains sharing the road with school buses and grey nomads with big caravans. So we, over a 30, 40-year period, have to rectify that, but there's no way that we can replace a 4-metre wide seal if our road management plan says it should be 6. And the betterment means that if we want to return that 4-metre road to 6, we have to pay for that extra 2 metres. And when you think about if 1 kilometre of road to replace is worth $400,000 in normal times, not in this current environment where civil contractors are coming at a premium, if you think that we've got to come up with 30% of that figure every time, it's a massive burden on the ratepayer. And the reality is, a small rural like Buloke just can't afford it.
Yeah, that's very true. You get a good price for a neat 7-tonne Bedford at the moment, wouldn't you? I reckon. projects that are going on now. Obviously, your teams have been basically in flood mode since October, so the normal road schedule would not have been really progressed. What's currently going on for the teams?
Yeah, so we've got 2 rehabilitation programs happening at the moment. So certainly McLoughlan's Road, with people who locally know out the 7 Mile Bend that meets the Sunraysia. We're doing 2 sections there. We hope to get to another section on the Mallee-Currio Road, and we have another section booked in on the Jeffcott Road. But they're all contractors doing those rehabilitations. Our crews are certainly still working their way to emergency works, and it's crucial that I guess our ratepayer understands that emergency works period finishes at the end of April. So we've had to do things that we wouldn't normally do, like stand grader crews down to get them to concentrate on patching potholes, because otherwise we won't be reimbursed for that money. So it's all hands on deck patching potholes at the moment, and unfortunately, particularly for our primary producers, that means our typical maintenance grades have been halted.
Thanks, Dale and Dan, for taking some time out of the footy and the netball today to join us on the Paddock the Goals.
Thank you, Trav. I should just offer some sort of commiseration. Both of you are long-suffering Carlton fans.
Good.
And I just thought I'd make sure that you guys both knew that I feel you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's coming from a fellow Hawthorn supporter.
As a Hawthorn man, and we're going to have a pretty lean year too.
Let's hope they don't bubble up anytime soon, the Hawks. We've really enjoyed walking you through the Paddock the Goals vodcast, and this is just the start. So we've got 9 more of these, another live one happening in Charlton later in the season, and we'll be able to transcribe a summary of today's vodcast and make it available in print form. If you'd like a copy, reach out as soon as you can next week by calling customer service at Buloke Shire Council on 1300 520 520. Thanks very much to the North Central Football League, the Birchip Watcham Football Club for having us today, the Red Cross, DECA, Emergency Recovery Victoria for their support, AgVic, Birchip Cropping Group, the Victoria SES as well. Next week's podcast will be available for your consumption on match day next Saturday, and very much a big thank you to Joe Postlethwaite, our Manager of Customer Engagement at Buloke Shire Council, for pulling this all together, and for Braden Cox and Roland Media for their outstanding work today as well. That's it. Enjoy the football and the netball and the hockey across the North Central today. Let's hope your team kicks off with a round 1 win.